Today on the Diz List, we begin our first listeners' Best of 2023 episode.
Welcome to the Diz List, the podcast that ranks everything in Walt Disney World.
And I'm Rob, and welcome to episode 75, where we begin our first listener's best episode.
Yes.
It's our first.
This is our first.
Meaning there has to be more than one.
That's right. I think we're going to end up with 4 based on the amount of data I have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Then that can take us right into the new year.
Yeah, so just a recap. Over the past month or so, probably 2 months now, we have been collecting data through our story polls and through story questions, and had our listeners answer questions like, what's your favorite ride in the parks? What is your favorite a show in the parks? Non-ride show attraction.
I voted.
That's okay.
Does it show? Like, can you tell which ones I did?
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool.
What I will say
through my username.
Yeah, what I will say is your votes did not impact the first place at all.
All right.
And not because you didn't vote for something that was
popular,
but because what you voted for, you agreed with our listeners.
Okay. So I might do okay on today's episode.
Correct. So the way this is going to work is we're going to actually go backwards from normal. Normally we count up or down from 5 to 1. Today we're going to count up.
Both make sense, I guess, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah, because I want Rob to have to guess what the next one is. For those of you that don't know, generally speaking, I'm doing a lot of the social media work, so Rob really hasn't seen these polls. Does he have access to it? Could he have done it? Sure.
Yeah, but I'm not cheating.
But he didn't want to cheat.
Nope.
He really wanted to do this where kind of like, was that a full episode or a Patreon episode we did where you kind of grilled me about some stuff? I think
it was great. It was a Patreon episode.
Okay.
It was fun. And that episode was great.
And I think that's kind of what led us to thinking about doing a full-blown episode like this.
Yep. I think one of the ones we did, I'm not sure if this was the whole episode, but it was most popular IP. Remember that one?
Oh, yeah.
Where, like,
which one popular by money?
Right.
Which one has made Disney the most money?
Correct.
Yeah.
And I remember, the one I remember the most, I can't even tell you number one off the top of my head. I think it was Mickey and Minnie.
Yep.
Was number one.
Yep.
Was it?
Yeah.
Number 2 was the most surprising.
That was shocking.
Winnie the Pooh,
yeah,
remember?
Winnie the Pooh. Yeah. And
That's
then
wild.
And then my comment was, because it has to do with money, it's been around the longest.
Yeah.
Next to Minnie and Mickey.
Right. So, and a quick aside from that too, now that Winnie the Pooh is in the public domain, that basically means that anybody can make anything that's Winnie the Pooh. I mean, there's legal stuff behind it. It's the same thing with Mickey Mouse.
If you want to take a deep dive with Disney and the way they have impacted public domain, it's a wild ride, and you may come out with a little bit of cynicism toward Disney.
And recently there was a horror movie.
Five Nights at Freddy's?
No, the Winnie the Pooh one.
Wait, what?
There's a Winnie the Pooh horror film. Yes.
That's insane.
Yes. So Winnie the Pooh is like, I think it's Winnie the Pooh and Piglet are the two main like Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th.
This is hilarious.
And they walk around. And I did not watch the whole movie. What I did was there's a YouTube station that I watch that the guy basically goes through and talks about the movie, and it's called Kill Count. I know we're getting off. I know we're getting off on a tangent here. We can edit this out if I'm going too far. But what he does is he goes through kind of like the highlights of all the horror films, so you don't have to watch them.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, I don't want to watch this whole movie. So I watched part of it. I couldn't even get through the whole YouTube. I'm like, okay, A, this is gross. B, this is just sad that you're watching Winnie the Pooh like, I don't even want to say it. I don't want to like scare any kids that are listening, but
yeah,
we'll just say it's pretty scary what they do.
Huh. That's an interesting take on the 100-acre wood.
Yeah. Huh. So, I mean, look it up. At the very least, I would tell you and listeners, watch the trailer. I mean, you get enough out of the trailer.
Right.
It made me go, I want to see what this is really about, and then watch that other thing. But
Speaking of scary.
Yeah.
Something that is sort of scary.
Oh, this is a great accidental transition right here.
Yeah. When you started talking about it, I was like, I know exactly how we're going to segue.
That's good.
Hatbox.
Yes.
Hatbox is here.
I was thinking about that today. There are, as kind of the resident Haunted Mansion fan, I'm wearing my Haunted Mansion shirt today,
You are.
too. Because I'm excited about it. And there are people out there in Disney social media who are grumpy about this, but I think it's a very vocal minority, which happens online sometimes. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's a vocal minority of people who don't like the fact that the Hatbox Ghost is near the beginning of the ride.
Right.
Because
But-
the narration says now the ghosts are starting to materialize, right?
Correct. I will say this. If you think about the recent movie,
And I am.
the spirits were there before Madame Leota did anything.
Right.
So they can go that route. If you think about what they tried to say at not D23, the thing they did this year, what was the one, Destination
Yes,
Destination D23,
right.
where they said, she's summoning the happy hunts,
Right.
and he is not happy, and he comes and goes as he pleases.
Correct.
Is it necessarily something that I'm like thrilled with where they put it? No. Do I wish they could have put it where it is in
Yep.
Disneyland? Sure.
It was maybe a financial thing, yeah, probably. But I have a couple takes.
They were able to do this overnight, basically.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's pretty wild.
Must have been an easier install than putting them way up top in the attic,
And
where he is in Disneyland.
did you watch any of the videos from the first day?
Yes.
So what was your take
On how it looks?
Let's go. Let me go first. What was your take on the look of it? Let's go with that first. Yes.
It was bright. Compared to the one in Disneyland, the one in Disneyland is good and bright, and I would say the one in Disneyland is maybe a B plus A minus. I feel like it's brand new. This one is probably an A or an A plus. It just seems so sharp, and the transition from the face on the body to the face in the box seems really smooth and cleaner.
Did you happen to see the Instagram story that Tim Tracker posted
No. Oh, but
of the slowed down
side
footage?
note, where did he just came back out of nowhere this week for this?
No, he's been doing stuff.
Has he?
Yeah.
This is the first thing I remember seeing in a long, long time.
No, he's been doing stuff.
Okay. Well, I know he had a new baby.
Yeah.
He's we're talking about another Disney
Yeah.
influencer person who
Yeah.
I think is great.
Very popular
We met him a
YouTuber.
couple of times.
Yeah.
Very, very nice guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue. Did
So-
I see his story on Instagram? No, I did
So
not.
they were editing his footage, and his wife Jen was trying to slow it down so she could get the right cut point,
Mhm.
and he accidentally captured how that animatronic is working. in
Really?
Disney World. In Disney World, it is, it could be this way in Disneyland too, but I don't believe it is. So they got the projection mapping on the skull, like face, head, right?
From the inside. Is it one of those ones like in Frozen?
Nope.
Nope.
So it's projection map projected on his face.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
It turns off, and so that it looks like there's nothing there, the head retracts back into the animatronic.
Oh.
So like in the slow motion, you can see the light turn off, and a very faint black, like, figure, the head, drops into the body of the animatronic.
Oh, weird.
But because it does it so quickly,
and you're in the dark.
it was lit up and no longer lit up. Your eyes don't have a chance to readjust
Right.
to it.
And your
By the
eyes
time
go
it's-
to where it's bright in the box.
By the time it's
You're
gone,
drawn to the
time it's gone, if you look back up, that head's gone. It's not actually there.
Weird.
It is actually really brilliant. And so I saw that footage. I was like, oh, maybe I don't think that's how they do it in Disneyland.
I don't know. I'm gonna find out though.
So it was a really cool look at the footage that he had. He wasn't trying to spoil the magic. That's certainly not what he was doing.
No, but I mean, it's still
But he was
magical.
like-
I like knowing
Yeah.
that stuff.
And
It's
he-
still cool.
I believe it was only in his story, so it was only there for 24 hours, but I happened to catch it. The other thing I wanted to ask you about was, were you shocked at all? I don't know if you saw videos of the queue that day.
No, I did not.
So first off, you and I are going to get in trouble next year and just take the week after Thanksgiving off. Because I'm not
It's
sure.
dead.
Because I'm not sure if you saw.
No
it, but
pun
it was-
intended.
yeah,
No one's there.
It was dead.
Yeah,
And
I knew
so
that.
They This was at like 11 o'clock. He and his friend Nick
Yeah.
were in the parks going to, and they had found out. And so they went and they queued up. It was like a 15-minute wait,
Oh my
and
God.
Hatbox Ghost was there. They had the queue all. They had cast members blocking people from going. Like how you can. There's a couple ways you can get over to that part of the park, right?
Yeah.
They had cast members blocking off from Tangled bathrooms beyond, so that way that was going to be crowd control for when you left Haunted Mansion. You had to leave that way because they thought it was going to be that popular. And at least as of 11 a.m. it wasn't.
Well,
I mean, my guess is that what happened is locals,
yeah.
right? Because it's the middle of the week. If you are on vacation, sure, you're going to go. But the vacation crowds are already really low that week.
Yep.
If you're a local, it's in the middle of the week, you're working. So my guess is after work it probably picked up. But the video I saw, there was nobody in line.
All right. I think this week next year we may need to take a weekend and go down.
So when everything was when all these people were posting about the length of the waits, I said something to my wife. I was like, hey, check out these wait times. This is amazing. And I said, she said, oh, yeah, when we retire. And I said, 2 words. And she's like, what? I go, win lottery. So she was like, okay, go buy a ticket.
Can we write it off as a business trip?
Sure.
He had water in his mouth. He almost did a spit take.
Yeah, we almost had a spit take on that one.
So my main thoughts that I have for Hatbox Ghost is it's a great effect. I'm glad it's part of the ride. So when we did our episode where I compared Haunted Mansion West Coast and East Coast, that was one of the benefits of the one on the West Coast. But in my opinion, and we may have people who are the opposite, this is one of the rides I prefer in Disney World now. I preferred it before, and with adding Hatbox Ghost, I think it's even better. I like the order better. It really solidifies that the Florida version is my favorite. For example, Pirates is better out in Disneyland. It's longer. It has more drops. Space Mountain is better in Disneyland. So there are pluses and minuses in both parks on both coasts.
Oh, for sure.
The only other thing I will say, and this popped in my head, is people were saying that, well, when you add the Hatbox Ghost, it's not 999 happy haunts anymore. Now you have 1,000. But if you think of the narration,
But
the narration says, well, he says there's room for 1,000. So technically there's room for another one to come in.
Is it room for 1,000 or room for one more?
1,000.
I know
that. Room for one more I think that is based on an old, scary story that's called Room for One More, where they kept repeating that line over and over. Whereas I think a lot of people, what they do is they associate those two together, that old kind of children's story and the ride. Mm-hmm. And to be fair, the Haunted Mansion ride, that ride through narration, as good as it is clunky at times. And that's one of the moments where it's a real easy one to just change it for Room for One More. It's a little spookier, I think.
Yeah.
So again, not perfect. I'm happy to critique things that I love. I am not completely blinded by my favorite thing being absolutely perfect. So anyway, I'm happy about it. I'm really looking forward to it. Our plan now is to also go in July. I think you're planning on going in July also. Mm-hmm. Not together. You're going to be going with your brother, and we're going to be going down too.
Yeah.
But I'm very much looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, I'm glad it's going to be there.
So that's my thoughts on that. I'm very happy, and it's not perfect, but it's cool to have it and to be able to see it more often.
Yeah, absolutely. As time has gone on and our Patreon has grown, originally we were doing let's have a sponsor of the week. I've kind of made an executive decision. Hopefully you're okay with this. Instead of just saying, oh, this week is brought to you by Rob, mm-hmm. right? I think we need to have 2 sponsors every week just so we get through people.
Sure.
And they hear, they get their shout outs a little more frequently.
Sure.
So,
well, maybe we have a real sponsor coming up soon too. I'm down for that also.
Yeah. So our this week our halftime show is sponsored by Sherry H and Stacy W.
Cool.
Very loyal patrons who've been with us from the beginning.
Right.
I ran the randomizer twice, and those 2 were picked to be our sponsors today. So thank you very much. If you don't know about our Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/DizListPod for early access to new episodes as well as bonus content. Also, follow us over at DizListPod on Instagram.
So this is a compliment.
Yeah.
Notice I have to start it that way. I love listening to the Disney Dish
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
And every week they will also thank their Patreons. But the host, Len Testa, always turns it into like this dad joke.
It's a horrible dad joke. I like him, but man, he's got to stop.
Oh my gosh.
These folks brought you the Hatbox Ghost by making sure.
These are the people that are quality control on every Hatbox to make sure that you can fit the dead head in the box. I made that up, but like it's... I'm sure listeners are rolling their eyes, but like, anyway, Len Testa's great.
Yes.
Love Jim Hill, love their podcast. We're not affiliated with them in any way, but they're great. Just the dad jokes can be a bit much sometimes.
Yeah. Like I found myself rolling my eyes like my kids do when I tell a dad joke in class.
Yeah.
But I just want to say thank you again to Sherry H and Stacy W, and we'll be right back after this.
Love it. Let's stick with that. See you soon.
Welcome back. Today on the Diz List, we're going to count down your top fives. We're actually going to count up, I guess we could say.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
So basically, we have been polling you, and we wanted to know your favorites. So we've got.
Can I give a little background on you first? The
Sure.
listeners may not know.
Sure.
So, Nick is a math teacher, and I think you've said that on the show before.
Yeah, I've said
it's
that.
not a secret. I'm an art teacher. Nick's a math teacher. We're opposite in a lot of ways, and we are chocolate and peanut butter, and that's why we taste good. Okay, that was a little weird. Do we edit that out? Do we leave that in?
Leave that in.
Excellent. I think the reason I think we do so well is because we come from different walks of life. He is Mr. DVC. He is a newbie at Disney. I've been going my entire life, have family members that work there, and that's what I think makes this so cool. So Nick, back to my point, is a math teacher, and he actually teaches statistics.
Correct.
So all the time on the show, if you're a Patreon or a regular listener, you'll know that I love trying to not test you, because that's not really what I'm trying to do.
No.
What I try to do is like, okay, this stuff's interesting to me. And I've said this to you before, like not on the show. I find statistics like it's such an interesting, I'm not a huge math person, but I love the whole idea of statistics and how that stuff works.
To be perfectly honest, statistics is the one area of math that's gray, not black and white.
Right.
So it's not a shock that an artsy person would gravitate toward that particular applied mathematics. Rob loves to like, so I read this article. And then I'm like, yeah, the way they collected those statistics are not good.
But I'm learning from it, though. Like you're never like, well, that's stupid. You're stupid. It's like, well, you explain it to me, and I'm like, oh, okay, that makes more sense.
And I'll be honest, us just doing a voluntary response survey presents some sort of flaws.
Right.
Absolutely.
You had mentioned this to me. It's very interesting.
Amazon, when you look at Amazon ratings, those are voluntary response surveys.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's why you get the 5s and you get the 1s. Because I don't know about you, but if you get a product and you're like, meh.
You're not going to write
you're not running to Amazon to take 5 minutes to write a review.
But if it falls apart,
you're going to Amazon and writing a review.
Yeah.
So I put very little stock into things like reviews online.
Yeah.
But that said, I think we have a diverse enough group of followers on Instagram and a diverse enough group of listeners that I do believe that there is some stock in what they said. And at the very least, I am not pretending that this is what all visitors to Disney, these lists,
these are the people listening right now.
These rankings are from our listeners.
Cool.
And I can guarantee you at least one of the things on the ride list is going to show the demographic a little bit of our listeners.
Okay.
That's what I will say.
I am intrigued.
Okay. So I'm going to start off, like I said, we're going to do this backward. We're going to go from 1 to 5 because I want Rob to guess.
Okay.
So we'll start with rides.
All rides, all parks?
All rides, all parks. Not the water parks, but all rides, all parks.
Okay.
What is the number one ride that our listeners enjoyed in Walt Disney World in 2023?
Okay, this is also going to depend on if people went to Disney World in the last 2 years, based on what I'm about to say. That's kind of a clue. So I am going to go with my favorite, which I think is also the fan favorite. I am going to guess that our listeners' number one is Cosmic Rewind.
So Cosmic Rewind, Guardians of the Galaxy, Cosmic Rewind is indeed number one.
Oh, okay, great. Great.
So it received more votes than the next closest one by 2 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that also is telling about our audience because, like I said before I gave you my answer,
Yeah, there are people who go.
there are people who go. There are people who've been there recently because that is a recent ride. It opened late 21, beginning 22.
Yeah, something like that.
I'm trying to remember when it opened.
Yeah, I mean,
either way, it's a recent ride.
Yeah, it's
Like if Tron were to be number one, that would also be very telling because I haven't even been on Tron.
right.
And last summer? No, we didn't go this summer because we went to Disneyland.
Right.
But you have because you've been recently.
Tron's great. It's not.
So but that's bringing me to my next guess here. Do I guess Tron? Like I don't know whether
so you want to stay right with rides. We can do that.
Yeah, I want to go right through the rides. I want to do all 5 rides here.
All right. So number one is Guardians of the Galaxy, Cosmic Rewind.
Okay, I think I can tell you what number 2 is pretty easily, but I don't. I
don't think you can.
Really.
I really truly don't think you can.
Okay.
I think the rest of this list you are not going to get.
Okay.
No.
All right. I'm. So do I get 5 guesses basically, right? So number 1 I got.
Are you just trying to guess which ones are on the list? Or
I get 5 guesses. I'm deciding this right now. We're deciding this on the fly.
Okay.
And I'm looking for a pen here so I can.
We're well prepared, well researched. I
thought we were ready, and then like all this these rules all kind of presented themselves naturally. So I'm getting 5 guesses.
Okay, go ahead.
My first guess was Guardians.
Okay.
And I got that one. My next guess, and now you gave me a pretty big clue there that you don't think I'm going to get it. So my obvious choices are probably not the ones I'm going to go to.
What I meant was I don't think you would know what number 2 is. But
okay.
It doesn't mean that. Go ahead.
My second guess out of 5 is Rise of the Resistance. Is it in the top 5?
It is not.
Dang. Because it breaks down all the time.
You want to hear something even crazier?
Yeah.
Of all the votes, it received votes. It received the least amount of votes. But at least it received votes. I mean, there are rides that definitely didn't receive votes.
For me, it's number 2.
Okay. It's not even on the list.
Dang.
It's not even an honorable mention.
Okay. All right. So number 3, I'm going to guess people are probably going to go with like their classic favorites like me. So, I mean, I could go either way when I go to vote for this. And I did. And I truly don't remember which one I did. I mean,
I can tell you what you voted for. Guardians of the Galaxy.
I did. That's okay. So I would either go that way or I would go like all time. So if I'm going right now, my favorite Disney ride, it's Guardians. If I'm going all time, it's Haunted Mansion. So I'm going to guess Haunted Mansion for my third guess. Dang!
It's not on the list.
Ah, man, you were right. I okay. All right, I got 2 more guesses here.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to change my way of thinking here. All right, so I'm gonna loop back.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. All right, I'm gonna loop back to Epcot here.
Okay.
And I'm gonna go with Remy. Is Remy in the top 5?
It's not on the list. It's not.
Dang it. This is very, very interesting.
I told you these lists are going to very clearly illustrate our demographic.
Right. And again, like,
this is where the stats guy and me nerded out on it, because I was like, I could give this same survey on some of our friends, our Disney friends platforms.
Yeah.
And get completely different results.
Well, that's why it's also cool and it's fun and exciting. Our listeners are probably like, everyone's trying to guess it right now. And that's why I love podcasts like this too. If I were listening right now, I'd be yelling out, "Well, is it Tron? I mean, you could go with Tron because Tron's the new one and people maybe like it. Or let's think of a park we haven't talked about.
Yeah.
Maybe, and this is my 5th one. Maybe it's Flight of Passage.
You know,
that's my 5.
That'd be a very good guess. It'd be wrong.
Holy cow! I am 1 for 5.
Yeah.
Man. Okay, I'm out.
Okay.
I failed. If this were a quiz in Mr. Nick's class, I would have failed.
So let me just say this. Like I said, this is definitely demographics, kind of showing themselves.
Okay.
But I'll also say that I like the story it's telling. The story this is telling is we will respect a very good, very reliable ride. Number one, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
However, we love our classics. Okay.
And that's why but I thought that way too with Haunted Mansion.
I would have. It received votes. It
Okay.
received more votes than Rise.
So it's like Pirates or Peter Pan or something, right?
So number 2
Yeah.
is Pirates.
Okay. I figured after you went with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Fair. Like, great ride.
number 2 is
It
Pirates.
deserves to be there.
So I'm going to give you the list, and then I'll tell you some flaws that if we were to do this again, when we do this in 2024.
right. I would like this to be an annual thing.
how I'm gonna
I'm
change
already
it.
loving this right
Yeah.
now.
Number 3, I'm really kind of. This is the only other one I thought you would get. Big Thunder Mountain.
Okay. Also
mean-
deserves to be there.
Yeah, I think it. Like when I read this list, nothing on this list is like, it doesn't belong there.
Okay.
We had a tie for number 4, so I'm going to call that 4. Like I'm just going to read them both, but I'm going to say these are our 5, and then I'll tell you the honorable mention that came in.
Actually came in 5th.
Well, technically 6th, but 4. You know what I mean? Because
Sure, it's 6, but we'll bump it to 5
because 2 tied for 4.
4 and
Yeah.
5. Okay.
So
I can do that math.
tied for 4. Tied for 4, and I'll give you the one that I don't think really speaks to our demographic, and the one that does. 4, Tower of Terror.
Okay. Love it.
Yeah, I mean I can totally see that, right?
Love it. We wrote it together.
Yeah. Tied for 4 with Tower of Terror, Spaceship Earth.
Oh. Okay.
So that's where I'm saying like our demographic is definitely a different demographic
yeah.
than say.
Those two. I mean, pretty opposite. Both
Yeah.
great.
But if you look at the list, right? So you have Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, number 1. By far, like doubled the votes of Pirates, which
Yeah.
was number 2.
Fantastic ride.
Then it went Pirates, Big Thunder, Tower of Terror, Spaceship Earth.
That's like
Tower of Terror, Spaceship Earth.
That's like
together.
tying with living with the land and rock and roller coaster.
It's-
like two extremes.
I mean, it is pretty extreme difference, yeah. And then I'm going to give you a 6th guess because there's no way you'll guess the honorable
oh
mention.
my god.
All right. That would have been. There's no way.
So give me a clue at least. Give me a park to
Yeah,
go off.
Magic
of.
Kingdom.
Oh jeez. I could have gotten it at some of the other parks.
Yeah.
All right. Little Mermaid.
People Mover.
Okay. I don't hate that either. I'm surprised, but like if someone puts People Mover as their favorite, like that tells me a lot about that person.
Okay, if you have 6 rides to go on in a day,
Yeah.
and you can only do 6 rides.
I would not do People Mover as if I only had 6, but I love and respect that one.
Okay, let me change. Yeah, I mean, it's put it this way: 3 rides on the entire 6 list came from Magic Kingdom, and People Mover was number 3.
All right.
Okay. So here's what in between the 2 lists, I'm going to explain to you what I think we need to do to change to get a more accurate depiction.
Sure. I have an idea too.
So
Go for it.
So the issue that I ran into is you can't do polls because when you do polls, you can do as many as only 4 like
Selections.
Correct. And then you pick your favorite.
That's skewed because we are automatically deciding
Correct.
what the
Right.
priority is.
So I'm going to find a way to do some sort of a form that people can exterior leave our
At school we do Google Forms.
something like
Anybody
that, like maybe a
listening-
survey monkey or something like
Oh
that.
yeah, that would work too.
Um,
Yeah, that's a little more easy, probably easier, more universal.
certainly for what we would be looking to do.
They do that
And then-
for like the best of Buffalo and best of Rochester.
Yeah.
So Western New York, they do this all the time. Like
Yeah.
the winner for best pizza place is Pizza Wizard,
Right.
or
Coffee place, Ugly Duck.
correct. And that's their actual
those-
that's real right now.
Yeah,
You can go in and vote for them. Anyway, side note, continue.
So I think what I need to do is have a way where you vote because we do top 5s. You pick your top 5. Your number 1 gets 5 points. Your number 2
a
gets
point
4.
system.
Because
Okay.
how many people who rank Guardians
Yeah.
1 may possibly have voted for Rise 2, but
Right.
Guardians edges it out.
Your
And so the
preference.
people who don't like Guardians at all, maybe they're the ones who like People Mover or Spaceship Earth because they like the slow moving stuff. So by doing it this way, where you give me your top 5 and I go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 for points, and looking at the points that were awarded, I think that would give a more accurate depiction of what our actual listeners' lists are instead of just asking for favorites.
You know what I would like also? Yeah. I'm all in for that. It's a great idea. I think that'll work great for next year. And I'd like that we're learning and we're making it better every time.
Yeah.
Let's do an overall WDW favorite attraction overall. But then let's also do best of each 4.
We can do that.
Let's do that too.
Okay. So
because we can get different results from
listeners,
both.
now you are getting the ultimate behind the curtain. Like we're workshopping next year's December shows. It's
gonna be great.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
But I love what we're doing now. Like this is great too.
I really like what this showed me because it also tells me like, okay, this is the kind of show we need to, this is our demographic. It's very clear. I mean, if you look at our demographic numbers, it's not going to be shocking to you. We're pretty popular 35 to 45.
Yep.
Right. We're right in that age range.
Jeez, I'm out of that age range now.
Oh, shoot.
I just aged out,
you
man.
Aged out.
I aged out of it.
Yeah. Well, when you listen, your age will get populated into our little pie chart. And,
that's true.
And it'll move the bar.
Okay.
All right. So
wild. That was really interesting.
I think shows will be easier because when you think of rides, you have different kinds of people with rides.
Yep.
And I think the reason you saw one and only one, I guess you can call Big Thunder Big Thunder and Tower Terror are thrill rides, but it's still different demographic than the people who like Guardians.
Yep.
I think the people who like Guardians probably also would have put number 2, probably Rise, number 3, Flight of Passage. And I think that, had I done it the other way, that those 2 would have been higher up there. I'm going to be honest with you. Flight of Passage and Rise of the Resistance got votes, but very low. Rise of the Resistance got the lowest votes.
Huh.
But I think some of that has to do with it. When is it actually open? Shows, on the other hand.
Does this include?
So I'm going to tell you right now.
Okay.
I did not specify when I said shows, and so I will tell you the types of shows I got answers for.
Okay, because there's okay. Go
I
ahead.
got answers for that included fireworks spectaculars.
Okay, that's what I was just going to say.
I got answers for stage shows. I got answers that included attraction type shows.
Okay.
I don't know if that's. I'm trying to not tell you like straight up answers, but those are the types I got. Pretty much anything that's not that you wouldn't consider a ride. When we do an episode about shows, we're often talking about like sit down, watch a show, then you go ride Big Thunder, then you go ride Frozen or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. That's the kind of show when we do a show about shows. When people read this, they also took into consideration stage shows, parades, castle shows, fireworks spectaculars. Those are all part of it.
All right.
This one I will say.
This list is going to ebb and flow depending on your clues, which I also like, by the way.
Yeah, I will tell you, this one's a little less surprising. I think you'll do better. I think you'll get at least a couple here.
I think my guess is I'll get 2.
Okay, so we're going to start with number 1. What do you believe the Diz List listeners picked as their favorite show of 2023?
I don't know if this is number 1, but I'm going to guess this one's on the list. Based on what you said, I'm going to go with Happily Ever After.
Happily Ever After received votes. It is not on the list, though.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think the important thing to remember is that Happily Ever After did not... Happily Ever After wasn't there the entire time, the entire year.
But it is back now.
Yeah.
That's the one that's there now, am I right?
Yes.
I was second guessing myself.
Correct. But remember, that only came back after the 50th ended.
Which makes me hesitate. No. Well, I mean, we've talked a lot about Harmonious on the show. I'm going to immediately fire again and say Harmonious.
I'm going to give you credit for an honorable mention, even though it's not harmonious.
Okay.
It's Illuminations.
Okay.
So I know that's not running, but it's somebody who clearly likes Epcot fireworks. So I'll just say Epcot fireworks in general.
That was an honorable mention?
Yes.
Not on the list. Okay.
Yeah. Honorable mention.
Yeesh. Okay. I'm going to go with my favorite stage show, and I'm going to say Lion King.
So Festival of the Lion King is number 1.
Good.
Yeah. Festival of the Lion King is number 1.
I should have just started there because literally, here's my thing. I wrote that down for my number 1.
Yeah.
Good.
Festival
I'm glad
of the
I
Lion
got
King,
one at least.
Number 1.
My other one that wasn't my favorite, and now it is, and it's funny because I've told the story on the show before how the first time I saw this movie I fell asleep. Did I ever tell the story on the show?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my other favorite show that I love, and I may have shed a tear at the show, is Frozen.
Number 2.
Yes.
Yeah, number 2.
Okay. All right.
So
well,
that's why
I met my goal. That's good.
why I was like, I think you're gonna do better at this because I was like,
Yeah.
I know what your favorite is, and I know that you like Frozen. So
Right.
yeah, the Frozen sing along is number 2. It really is a very, very well done show.
Yes.
That said,
Yeah.
There's been some talk about how they do need to refresh some of the stuff in Hollywood studios, and with the success of, although Jollywood Nights hasn't received a ton of great press, the success of the stage show with the Nightmare Before Christmas. Yeah, Nightmare Before Christmas.
So our buddy Ear Scouts Rob.
Yeah,
I watched part of that video, and holy cow, that Jack Skellington puppet is way cool.
Yeah.
So
it was cool when you got to see it when it would come out on the stage at
the beginning.
But at Magic Kingdom.
Oh, okay.
They did it on a stage show at Magic Kingdom.
But they do a person inside with makeup.
No. They do the puppet at the stage show.
They do?
No, I'm not talking about the meet and greet. There's a stage show.
Oh, I haven't seen that
during I think it might be between the Halloween one.
Because all I'm picturing is a tall person with the ball makeup.
Right.
Okay.
So I've seen that puppet before. But it's different. It hits different in a theater that size because it dwarfs everything, and it's just very cool. I agree.
What theater is it in?
It's in the Frozen theater.
Oh, and they just drop. Oh, I didn't realize that they had to put that backdrop.
They put everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're talking about.
Right.
I mean, I
didn't realize it was in there.
I've heard from multiple different channels of YouTube versus podcasts, whatever, it doesn't matter. Of people who are just saying, look, Hollywood studios, Frozen's great. We love Frozen, but let's maybe refresh something. I don't want to see them get rid of Frozen. I would rather see them, if they're going to refresh something, do something and fix. We've talked about this. The Little Mermaid, fix that.
I've heard
that
so
theater.
many different things on that Jim Hill podcast.
Yeah.
So I was part of this. I should know this. Again, I'm getting old. I'm aged out of our age bracket now. So my brain is going. The Muppets was in the Beauty and the Beast area?
I think so.
Where that show was?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ear Scouts Rob is listening and telling us right now.
Yep.
I wish we could just hear him.
Yeah. So number 3.
Number 4, I'm going to go with...
No. You're on number 3.
Oh, number 3.
Because we said 1 is Festival of the Lion.
Well, I only have one guess left. Because I was wrong twice. I have one guess left.
Okay, go ahead.
My last guess is my other favorite, Country Bears.
It is. So it's honorable mention. It is not.
Dang.
Wait.
Okay.
I apologize. I just checked my list again. It is not honorable mention.
Okay.
Did not receive a vote.
Well, I'm going to say it because I love it.
Yeah.
So I am out of votes. I got 2.
Okay.
I was right. I figured I would get 2. I got 2. Only because I learned from round 1 that it is not as predictable as maybe I think it is.
Number 3
is
Enchanted Tiki Room.
Oh, great. That's your favorite.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised with that. But so I think the thing that turns off some people from, no pun intended, from Country Bears are the off-color songs.
I'm first to admit
there
is some language in there that is not necessarily appropriate for younger.
I mean, if they get it. I mean, it's no different than watching
Right.
I mean, Monsters Inc. and they say stuff that's kind of off-color that you don't.
Right.
So yeah, I'm going to just Tiki Room. That was number 3.
Great.
Number
great choice.
4.
Give me a clue.
For number 4?
Yeah.
Hollywood Studios.
Okay. Muppets doesn't count. Indiana Jones?
I can
Muppets does count?
I can give you another.
Oh, Phantasmic?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I have never. That's one of the only things I've never done or seen at Walt Disney World. That and Tron and.
So Phantasmic, I love.
Oh, I haven't done Cars either. Sorry.
I did.
Continue.
I did Phantasmic. My first year I was there, we did Phantasmic, but we did it like an all-day marathon day, which me and Hollywood Studios just doesn't. Well, I shouldn't say marathon. We went back to the Polynesian, changed clothes, relax, and then went back.
Your poor daughter must have been toast by that time.
She did not. She didn't watch. She fell asleep.
I'm not surprised.
And I was so worried the whole time that she was like heat sickness because it was that hot that day.
That was a trip with your wife's mom or
yes,
your mom?
Correct.
Your wife's mom.
Yep.
Okay.
So we were thinking about this year doing where we don't rope drop studios.
Sleep in a little bit.
Sleep in and
okay.
then go in the afternoon.
All right.
Which would make it easier for us to go later.
And then get Genie Plus.
And do but
That's
then also do Phantasmic.
Sure.
Because I know my brother's never seen Phantasmic. My sister-in-law may have, but my brother definitely hasn't. And I wanted to see it again anyway. Yeah. It's a really good show.
The amount of characters is cool.
I just can never make it. It's so hot there. And then you have to wait in line. Like, it's...
Sleep in, get a big meal, swim, cool off, and then everyone's refreshed and going hard.
So that's kind of what
another compliment to your kids too is this isn't always true with younger kids. Usually your kids are awesome at staying up late.
Yeah.
And that doesn't always happen.
Right. And not not because they do it a lot, but because to be fair, when we get close to going to Disney, we start doing training where it's like, okay, tonight you're staying up till 9 o'clock. Tonight you're staying up till 10. And like, okay, tomorrow you're waking up at 7, even though you went. Maybe it's not the best for their health. I'll be the first to admit that kids need their sleep.
It's summer.
But the reality is they need to.
They're not in school.
They need to be right. They're not in school, and they need to get used to it for going on those trips. And we do like walking training and stuff like that too.
All right, so we were on Tiki Room was the last one? What one did you just say?
Phantasmic.
Oh, right. That's 4.
So number 5, I will let you guess, even though you're out of guesses.
Okay.
It won't count towards your official score.
You giving me a clue or no?
Yeah. Magic Kingdom.
PhilharMagic?
I'll give you another clue. Our show.
Monsters, Inc.? Laugh Floor?
Our show.
Huh?
Carousel of Progress.
Oh! I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
It has what's its record? It's the most performances of a stage show. Anyway.
Yeah. So that's number 5.
It's a great Big Beautiful Tomorrow. Oh yeah, no, I'm not ending the episode.
Yeah, so that's
I'm
number
just
5.
Quoting the show.
I mean, if I'm looking at honorable mentions, I'll give you the all the things that tied at the bottom.
Sure. God, I forget Carousel of Progress.
So I've already said the Illuminations, which to me, Epcot fireworks.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was. Yeah.
Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor was a honorable mention.
It's a good one. It can be hit or miss. Usually, it's a hit.
And then Tough to Be a Bug.
Tough to Be a Bug got votes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now the vote came in and was like, or not the vote, but votes came in, and one of the votes came in with a rip. Tough to Be a Bug, rip.
Yeah,
and, like,
and that's going to be Zootopia. But
I'll believe that when I see it.
Yep.
I'm not saying it won't be Zootopia.
Well,
I think it fits. Look, Disney's track record of follow through has just not been good.
It was a vague announcement, too, to be fair. It was a little vague.
But Afia? Officer Hauser? Is that what his name? Clawhauser.
Yeah.
So Officer Clawhauser.
Yeah.
I think
the giant leopard
would be a great animatronic to replace Hopper.
Character.
So
I love
see
characters like that.
Like,
I love the happy, endearing characters.
Well, and the cool thing is he really means nothing to the plot line. I mean, he means a lot, but he doesn't. You know what I mean?
Well, rumor is they're going to do more movies. I'd love for him to be like the sidekick.
Yeah.
He's such a good character.
Well, it's like in Monsters, Inc. Well, one of my favorite characters is I'm always watching. We have a student who can do that so well.
Well, I was going to say something else too, but I don't want to get in trouble. I don't know who's listening.
Yeah.
Let's just say that character reminds me of somebody.
Yeah.
Not anybody I'm related to.
Yeah. 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 So I like that character, I think is really important to Monsters Inc. But not
Oh,
really,
yeah.
not a hugely, or the fact that like Edna Mode has a meet and greet.
Yeah. Why
You know,
not?
I love
Well,
those like
it's like
side
Boba
characters.
Fett in Star Wars became its own TV show, and
Yeah.
love it or hate it, the sometimes those smaller characters can blow up.
They take a life of their own.
They
right?
do, and it happens organically, which I love.
Yeah, I know we're kind of no longer on the listener list, but I do want to mention that the next coming ones are going to be fun too. They are going to be a little bit more.
They're gonna be harder.
Yes and no. So here's the thing. So we're going to have one about restaurants. We're going to have one
And
about
resorts.
and we've got one that's just straight up polls that I thought were funny ones that I put up.
Cool.
But the rides and attractions one is not easy because our demographic is what it is.
Yeah.
And because I'm able to recognize the statistical flaw in the system with which I collected data. So I'm going to switch that out. We're going to go give us your top 5. Your number 1 gets 5 votes.
Points.
Number 5 gets 1.
Yeah.
Gets points and work it that way.
Yeah.
That's how we'll do that next year.
Yeah, it's great.
But I'm excited because when I look at this stuff, I also can glean information about like, okay, that really is our demographic. So we're talking to people our age. We're talking to people who like these things, but we're also talking to people who like the same things as us because if you had one vote, you got to ride one ride.
Yeah.
It's going to be Cosmic Rewind,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
That's mine.
And that's why it was won by a mile.
Oh yeah, like 60% of the vote.
Well, and let's look at this too. Out of that 60% of the vote, maybe those are the people who've been recently. Maybe the other percentage of people that voted
That's a good point.
haven't been and haven't ridden it yet.
We had some Disneylanders vote.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'd be interested in
One of the Disneylanders
Disneyland poll too.
One of the Disneylanders voted People Mover.
Okay.
So if I'm reading into that, it's we have this ride, we have this ride, we have this ride, we have this ride. Yes, they don't have Guardians, but like they have all this
exclusive stuff. Yeah.
They've got Pirates, they've got Mansion, they've got all these rides.
Well,
but what don't they have?
Right.
They don't have the People Mover.
Right. And that's the same way where if I'm voting for a Disneyland ride, I pick Mr. Toad. Like, is Mr. Toad one of the best rides in Disneyland?
No, but we don't have it.
No.
We don't have it.
Right.
So I read
Or
into that
Snow
a little
White.
bit.
Different Snow White, Pinocchio. Like there's a lot, but I'm not going to vote for the one with the little miniature castles where you go through Monstro's mouth. I forgot what that ride's called. You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
It's that little boat ride.
Yeah.
But a person actually like does the boat and the motor and
Like a
takes you through-
gondolier?
and they it's like a tour. It's really interesting. I don't think we've ever talked about that in the show.
Yeah. So this has been fun. And
this has been one of my favorites, honestly. It's surprising and fun.
I knew that you were going to struggle with the ride ones.
Yeah,
I didn't.
It's all right though.
I didn't think you'd struggle that much. You want to hear something crazy though? Is that I didn't even think because Remy didn't even show up in votes.
Wow.
So like, I didn't even think about Remy until you said it. I was like, wow, people left off Remy.
You and I remember
here's the
when
thing.
we got off Remy, we were like, that's the best thing ever.
But-
and then the next day we did Guardians.
Yeah. but that's just it. Is like if you can say that's why my system was flawed because if you can say one thing, and it's Guardians, right? You're not thinking about anything else in that park. You're not thinking about Frozen Ever After. You're not thinking about Remy.
Well, imagine what the results would have been if you can say, hey, vote for your favorite ride that isn't, no, not that you're going to do this, anything but Guardians or your favorite classic ride.
But that's why I want to give that, like, pick your top 5
Yeah.
and we'll give points. And I think
That's
what
great.
you'll see is a much more representative answer that I shouldn't say makes sense because these make sense.
Yeah.
But it maybe aligns to more what our expectations are. So I'm interested to see that. I'm always interested when I'm talking about statistics stuff to see how stuff works out. But I'll be interested to see how that turns out. But yeah, it's been fun, and I can't wait to do the next ones. This whole month we're going to be doing them. Pay attention. I might be throwing some extra polls up on Instagram. So at DizListPod.
Yeah.
Also, if
Throw in some bonus stuff.
if you're listening this week but didn't listen last week when Ear Scouts Rob was on, make sure you go and check that episode
my
out.
gosh, that's a great one too.
I listened to it and I was like, because I wanted to hear how it ended up after we went through and edited and changed stuff. And when I listened to it, I was like, oh God, I just want to sit and talk to Rob all day.
I know.
Like,
Me too.
It's so much fun.
I was talking about that today with my wife. We were talking about I said, we really do have to go over to Disneyland Paris, and I said, well, Disney or Ear Scouts Rob says, like I'm quoting what he said during the interview, and like it was truly very helpful for anyone that is even contemplating going over to Europe, because I absolute truth, what he said completely changed my entire idea of what I'm thinking of.
It definitely changed my mind of what
when we go.
The logistics would be.
Yeah. That train thing was the biggest game changer.
And I didn't realize that. And then we were talking to our former student about it, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm doing that. We're gonna go there for a day. Where we're going to Paris." And she's a big art person, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to mention is that yes, we're doing this for a whole month, and then our first episode after this, I believe, is I'd have to look at the calendar, but our first episode after we do these listener lists is a DVC show because it was requested. Two things I want to say about that. I'm going to put questions up on Instagram, like not questions. I'm going to put a thing up like an Ask Me Anything type thing on Instagram about DVC. Submit your questions.
And then we'll work it as an interview. I'll ask you the questions.
Yeah, I probably will not respond to you there because I want to do it in the show.
Yep.
But I know some people have asked about Disney Vacation Club DVC, and wanted to know some things. We've been getting emails, and then somebody said, I really want to know more about DVC, specifically renting and stuff like that. So I'm going to post some stuff there. The more questions, the better. Nothing that you could ask is a silly question in this case.
Or too obvious. Like, my first question is, what does DVC stand for?
Yeah.
Like, good, you'll answer it.
And I know
we're not going to laugh at anybody.
Yeah, I know we've done an episode before.
We want to educate.
But ask away.
Yeah.
But the other thing I want to mention about that is the only reason that episode's happening is because somebody reached out, commented, and asked me to do it. And you know what? We love that. We love when listeners contact us and say, would you guys do an episode on such and such? We had a listener this week email me. Love your stuff. Wondering if you did an episode about beating the heat. I was like, actually, yes. It's episode 20, episode 28. Go, here it is, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
By the way, I don't have our episode numbers memorized like that, but I had to look it up for her. So it is episode 28, if you're wondering. Sent it to her, sent her a link to it, and then, gave her, this is what I think you should do. We love hearing from you, so please, please, please reach out. You can either email us at dislistpodcast@gmail.com. You can reach out pretty much any social media. I'm most active on Instagram at dislistpod. And then like, obviously, if you wanted to follow us on Patreon, patreon.com/dislistpod. Those are all great ways to get in contact with us. We love hearing from you and love to do shows that you want us to make.
Yeah.
So
this one's been a lot of fun.
So please reach out.
Cool.
All right. It's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow, and tomorrow's just a list away.
Tune in next time, and we'll see you real soon.